Hi, I'm Debby Montgomery Johnson, the founder of the nonprofit The Woman Behind the Smile, and your host of Stand Up and Speak Up, a show that is about each and every one of us. Many of us have something we're hiding, something we're ashamed of, something that through no fault of our own or through our own making we keep hidden, and that in turn keeps us hidden from each other and the world. Good people go through terrible situations. Wise people know when and how to let it go. Everything that happens to us helps us grow, and while it may be hard to see it right away, the most important thing to do is to change your perception about your circumstances. Regardless of what experiences, personal experiences or traumas you've had, this showcase series is designed to ignite the light in you, as well as providing safe harbor, education, personal growth, and resources so that no matter where you are in your journey, you'll have the courage to move on when you are ready. Stand Up and Speak Up features ordinary people who've been through extraordinary situations and struggles and found the courage to step out from behind their smiles and speak up about their experiences and the lessons gleaned from those experiences. Everybody heals at a different pace, and we recognize that. So come on in, have a listen, and enjoy the ride at your own speed. Good morning, everybody. It's a beautiful day in South Florida, and my friends from Texas are not on the line today because I think they're snowed in and without power. But that happens, and we've got a great replay on my YouTube channel, so go there if you can't hear this live. But today is fun. I have a guest speaker that we woke up early, and she's coming to us from Pueblo, Colorado. I have actually not been there, although I lived in Colorado. And I'm so grateful that she's here because I've learned so much from doing my research about Dr. Melissa Balizan. Melissa, are you there? Welcome.
I am. Good morning, Debbie.
Good morning, and it's an early morning for you. And any snow out your way?
Yes, we actually got about 1.5 inches last night.
Well, I'm glad it didn't affect your power.
Yes, me too.
Or her magical powers, which we're going to talk about today. The other thing that I wanted to bring out briefly is I saw on the news today that today is the kickoff of Girl Scout Cookie Week. So if you're like me and you used to be a Girl Scout and you remember the days when you could get a really big box of Girl Scout cookies for a little bit of money, now they're smaller boxes and they're a lot of money, but the cookies are still good. So if you have a Girl Scout that you want to get out there and you want to sponsor today, go out and get them. My stepson arrived with some the other day, but he didn't bring those chocolate mints. I don't know about you guys, but I really like the chocolate mints, especially in the fridge. So enough of that, because I ate a bunch of those when I was young and had to lose a lot of weight to get rid of all that fun stuff. But Girl Scout cookies are a good, Melissa might not agree with the sugar content in them, but support the girls today. So Melissa, welcome. I'm bringing you here from Colorado, and you are known as the Colorado wife. Can you explain what the Colorado wife is, or who it is?
So the Colorado wife is it's to allow you to get to know me a little bit. I live in Colorado. I love Colorado. I am a wife of almost 20 years now, 19.5 years. And so my love for commitment and my love for Colorado, and Colorado reminds me so much of looking at the holistic and healthy picture. Colorado is one of the healthier states in the nation. And so that kind of fits with my my message of being whole, holistically healthy, meaning your whole body healthy.
Okay, perfect. Well, I just thought I lived in Colorado, but I lived up near Denver, and I loved it when I was there many, many years ago. But it's too cold for me now. But I do welcome you, and I want to give your experience. I have your bio here. I want to read a little bit about what you do and who you are. So Dr. Melissa Balizan has over 20 years experience in the healthcare field, combining Eastern and Western medicine. Dr. Melissa is a consultant and concierge pharmacist who focuses on women's issues and health and stress management, working to improve anxiety, depression, pain, and chronic health conditions. As an advocate for her clients, she empowers them to take charge of their health, educating them to know they have a choice. She uses her pharmaceutical training and knowledge of medications, supplements, nutrition, physical and mental health to guide her clients on their health journey, helping them make informed decisions about their health and life goals. What a perfect combination, especially today. in this pandemic. And we're going to talk a little bit about, what you do, how you do it. But I want to talk about where you came from and how you got to this point. Now, you said yesterday when we were talking briefly that you grew up in Oklahoma. No, you're from Kansas. Your family was from Oklahoma. And your husband was from
New Mexico.
New Mexico. You met in Arkansas.
Yes, we met in Arkansas.
Okay, so you've been around the Southwest and the West, Midwest a lot. East meets the West here, and that's good. That's good that we're having a little bit of diversity training here. But Melissa, when you were younger, what was your family situation? Where were you in the children range? Do you have brothers and sisters?
I do have brothers and sisters. I am the eldest of 3.
When you were young, did you have responsibilities as the oldest, or were you pushed a little bit harder than your siblings, at least in your mind?
Yeah, I think in my mind I was, but that was a good thing. I mean, my parents are great. They gave me stability, and they gave me insight, and gave me the motivation that I needed. I pushed myself a lot, and they stood behind me, and also allowed me to, even at a younger age, that's great, I think about this, to know that when stress was too much, because school, I pushed myself. I mean, I was a straight A student in high school, and when I would push myself, I would get over anxious and over worked up over a test and things if I didn't get that A. And that's a stress component that I just realized that way back then. My mom was even able to help me through that.
So back then, how did you get through that? Because for me, it was athletics. I'd go out and, whack a field hockey ball or something like that.
Back then, I wasn't athletic. I was in the band. So okay. I used to play, so I would go and play my flute, or I would go and I would read a book. I love to read, and so reading a book, non-education, was a good way to de-stress for me.
There you go. And that would quiet you down. Did you like math, and what kind of things did you like in school?
I loved math. I loved science. I was in all the accelerated and advanced programs. That's what led me into pharmacy. Briefly, I was in a math class, and I thought, oh, what can I do? I'm going to be an engineer. And I went to an engineering camp one summer, and I came out of it, and I said, I don't want to be an engineer. Let me look for something else. So I started looking into more medical field, and my mom had been diagnosed. She'd had some medical issues, and so I started looking into a medical field where I could go in and be able to help people and make a difference.
And you wanted to go to medical school. You did want to go to medical school, but what was it that kept you from going into regular medicine?
Well, what kept me to go into regular medicine? So I loved our pharmacist, our neighborhood pharmacist. When I would go into his pharmacy, I would talk to him, from a young age. And I developed a rapport with him. And so it got me to thinking as time went on. I was like, well, pharmacy sounds good. Because at that time I was like, I don't want to be a medical physician because I don't like the blood. I don't want to get into the side of blood. Which down the road I ended up running a couple of clinics where I did some finger sticks. So I actually eventually got into blood later. But at the time I was like, no, let me go into pharmacy. I think the world is more open. I have more opportunity. And that's what led me from high school to going to college. I picked the school I wanted to go because of their pharmacy program.
Well, that's perfect. Yeah, I remember thinking back as a kid, too. I grew up in a small town in Vermont, and my dad was the local dentist, and one of his friends was the local doctor, and then one of their mutual friends was the local pharmacist. And we always run into the pharmacy. It was even called the Woodstock Pharmacy, and it was Dr. Pete. Dr. Pete was back there, and he knew all of us, and it was fun. They were great guys. Today, I don't go to the pharmacy. I go through the drive-thru. I do the littlest amount of time I can, the shortest amount of time that I can with the pharmacist, because many times you don't get that personal contact with the pharmacist. It's you go in and you're talking to the clerks. They give you the bag. Do you understand this? And you're out the door. right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. The world has changed, and the corporate world has taken over the local pharmacies. They're not there. You don't get that one-on-one connection anymore.
Yeah, which is too bad. And so let's talk a little bit about that, because you spent time in that corporate world at hospitals. Did very well. How long were you working with the hospitals?
I was with hospital for over 18 years.
Wow. That's a long time.
It is a very long time.
What did you like? What did you like about that?
Well, I liked that I wasn't limited. So there were several programs that I was able to be a part of and bring to and help our community with. And the other thing, I wasn't just dispensing medications. I wasn't behind the counter doing that. I was conversing with the physicians. I was conversing with the nurses and the patients and the family members even, making those changes and making those optimizations in their health, even from a young pharmacist age. I was out there and involved and helping the physicians make the right decisions for the patient based upon, lab results and based upon cultures and things like that. And so I loved the opportunity. I loved the variety. No day was the same, so every day brought something different.
Do you see a collaboration between pharmacists and physicians? I mean, is there a good working relationship or not? Or
I do see a collaboration. Yes, there is great working relationships.
Okay.
It sometimes depends upon the personality. When I was in pharmacy school, I did several rotations with physicians, both in hospital and in physicians' offices. And those were the physicians that knew the value of a pharmacist-physician relationship, and those are the ones that I was able to pick out and, develop more of a rapport with, and then I was able to change a few of the other physicians along the way and get some of the more challenging physicians to be able to work with pharmacists and understand the value that we can provide in a different realm versus just giving you here's your med, here's your there's absolutely phenomenal working relationships.
Well, that's good, because we'll talk about this a little bit later on. But I'm thinking about between last week's show and this week's show, last week's show is called Protecting the Rabbit Ears Generation. My parents are alive, and I'm with them a lot, and I see a lot of the things. So many of us in our early 60s are now in that sandwich generation where we're helping to take care of our parents. And I know my dad's decision, dad's a retired dentist, when he gets his pills, he gets them from his doctor, but then the decision to where he buys them comes down to not who the pharmacist is, but what's the lowest cost.
Yep.
And he'll go to the grocery store, he'll go to the pub, or he'll go to Publix, he'll go to CVS, which is the pharmacy, he'll go to Costco. It's interesting that the Costco pharmacist is the one that he's become best friends with, because that's the man that sits there and talks to him when he has time. But there's very little relationship between my folks and where they're getting their meds. They're just getting them.
And what comes to mind when I hear that is it scares me a little bit. Because yes, your physician and his physician, and then hopefully he's only going to one physician, but that's usually not the case.
That's not the case.
Somebody's in their 80s, their 90s, or even their 40s, 50s, and 60s. You go to a specialist, and then you go to 4 or 5 different pharmacies to get your medication, and you have lots of medications and lots of physicians, and you don't have a commonality. You could have some things that aren't syncing together. You might have some things that are interacting.
Well, no, when he went to the hospital, they asked him as he was getting into the ambulance, they said, "Do you have a list of your medicines?" Well, they're relying on his list to put it into the hospital. What if you forget something that's on the list that should be on the list?
Absolutely.
I think the most unsettling for him recently, as we've been putting meds together, is that you buy from one place and then you buy from another place, and they may have different manufacturers, so the pills look different.
Yes.
And a lot of our older folks, my stepmother-in-law too, she looks at the medicines and she knows what they are by what they look like. So when my dad now has probably 40 bottles of pills instead of 3, wow, I got a tickle, sorry. Vanna said that she went back to the pharmacist and said, I only want this manufacturer because I know what that pill looks like. My dad is looking at them saying, well, it says it on the label, but they look different, so I'm going to keep them in 3 different pill bottles. Then when he starts filling his pills up, he's like, well, they're all white, so how do I know the difference between that one and that one, except maybe the number on it? So this is a whole different discussion, but it can be scary because if they're starting to take the wrong stuff or too much of it because they all look alike, that's a problem. That
is a huge problem. And that's a whole nother discussion, changing manufacturers, and that's also cost driven by the pharmacy that's purchasing, and from their wholesaler what brand or manufacturer they can get in, and yes, sometimes it's a scarcity issue where the company, the raw resources to make the pills, they're running low, and so they have to change. Sometimes it's a lot of times it's a cost thing. It's a cost savings for the wholesaler, and so then the pharmacy gets in a green pill now because the green pill is cheaper than the white pill was, and then you go out and you're used to taking that white pill, and all of a sudden it's a green pill. You're like, well, is this the same thing? Is it not? Mm-hmm. And yes, you can go back and you can ask to try to get the same manufacturer. Most of the time the pharmacy can't guarantee that.
But presumably it's the same pill. I mean, we have to trust them at some point that it's the same dose. It just looks different.
Exactly. It's the same active ingredient. It looks different because it's got some different things to make it stable. And it's a different company. It's so let me give you an analogy. So it's similar to like Coke and Pepsi. They're both cola products. You might like one a little bit better than the other. The taste is a little bit different. But so I'm gonna throw a name out there just so a blood pressure medication, lisinopril. So the lisinopril that you get is white, and it's like Coke and Coca-Cola. So you've been taking that, and then all of a sudden the manufacturer comes in and it's a little different, and so it's the Pepsi brand, and so now it's green, and then down the road now it's the off brand, so it's just the Diet Cola. They're all still an active cola ingredient or that active blood pressure medication, but they're slightly different in their color and their consistency. They're still going to act the same as far as controlling your blood pressure. You might notice a slight difference just because of the variations in where the parameters are, and that's a whole nother discussion.
Yeah.
Trust that you're getting what's in the bottle.
That could be very stressful to somebody, though, that is relying on certain things, and especially as we get older, that the change, is very stressful. And so it's kind of a segue into what I want to talk about next. Is we'll go back to the pharmacy and the reviewing all the things that you do as a pharmacist now, but that stress management. This is big in your life. That this topic has been a big issue in your life, correct?
Yes.
So let's just jump right in, because you were in administration and you were with the hospitals and whatever for 18 years, and then you left.
I did.
That's a hard thing. And you and I talked. I said it takes courage to step down from something that's very successful. Why did you do that? Why did you step down and decide to do something on your own?
That is an excellent question. What I realized is that stress can kill, and I've known that a long time. What made me change? So I was very able to see the stress effects in others. An example, my dad worked for 30 years for the post office, and there was a point in his life where I could see the stress was very high for him, and I'm like, Dad, you've got to quit. You've got to just retire, because I was afraid he was going to have a heart attack. I could see that in him. Now, when it came down to me, I'd been there 18 years going through. I had pieces in place. I had stress management techniques and tools in place. What I didn't realize is that I had blinders on for myself. I could see it in other people. I couldn't quite see it in myself until I was kind of hit in the head by a 2x4. And that had to happen for me to realize that my health had started declining. And it was that piece of my health and that 2x4, I mean, it wasn't literally a 2x4, but it was that piece that, I had been struggling with a couple of minor health things for a few years. I've been going, I'm in the healthcare field. I'm doing everything, going to the right physicians and treating as we feel appropriate at the time. What happened is that there came a point where I finally found the right physician and got a diagnosis and realized that they diagnosed me with the word idiopathic. And the word idiopathic means we don't know where it came from. And that got me to thinking. I was like, oh, wait a minute, I know where this came from. This is the stress of my high-level, very successful job. And that really started me thinking and making the thought process and really looking and saying, okay, is this job that I have, I'm successful, I have, the toys and we have everything that I think that I want at the time, but is it worth my health and my family? And I look back and I'm like, I've been sacrificing my family time because I put in more hours at work. Work, even though in my mind I kept saying work doesn't come first, work always popped to the top. It always trumped something. And so I was like, to the point when I finally got that diagnosis and realized I needed to have surgery to actually, my body had started closing itself off, and I was having issues. I couldn't breathe. My throat was literally shrinking. It was getting smaller and smaller, and it was feeling like you were choking, and no amount of water or whatever could make that feeling go away. And I would have good days and bad days. When I went to the physician and he said, you need to have surgery, and I'm like, okay. So I have the surgery, and it really got me to thinking. He said, you'll probably be back in 6 months. And that was one of the points. I was like, wow, I want to do this every 6 months? What caused this? And so I looked and I was like, this job is not worth my health. I decided at that point to kind of start looking for something else and realized that I needed something that wasn't as stressful, something that was still fulfilling to me, still able to stay in my field of expertise. I mean, I've spent years of, education and knowledge and money in this area, and I was like, I don't want to lose that. What I realized, though, is that it wasn't worth my health myself. And that was a huge realization. And it took me a while, to figure that out.
And the other thing that you and I talked about, though, a lot of us were A personality types, and we were taught well, we were trained well to work hard, do your best, go the extra mile, take whatever you had to make sure that the boss was pleased and that the customers are happy and all this stuff. And we're kind of caught in the middle. There were times, though, when you got into management where now you're in a position to hear things from the folks working for you. And how did you deal? Say someone had a complaint about the boss. Where were you in that situation? How did you deal with the controversies between the staff and your bosses?
That's a great question to ask. Yes, it was. It put me in a hard position because I needed to support the employee and know their needs and their feelings, and at the same time support the decision the boss had made, or the decision the decision at the time that he had made. And so people would come to me with complaints of him, and I would hear their complaints and say, okay, well, depending on what it was, okay, well, let me talk to him, let me see what I can figure out. And often I was able to come up with a solution to make the employee, feel at ease and be able to go back and be productive and talk to the boss and get through things, and then things would work out for a little while, and then the boss would change his mind. And that was hard for me to be in the middle of that, so trying to support both ends of the spectrum. It pulled me further and further and caused more stress for me is what I think happened.
Mm-hmm. And being put in the middle is tough for you because now you're getting pressure from the top, and that turns into some sort of hostile workplace at some point. And I talked about this to you the other day about when I left the banking world, and I've talked to many bankers that have left. It came down to it wasn't worth the money. The stress of the job wasn't worth the money. I loved working with the clients, the customers. It was especially in when I was with World Savings, and it was a savings and loan. It was a great family bank. When you go to corporate, and now the bottom line is all about money, you cut out the customer service, the extraordinary customer service. Now, they might disagree with this, but from the inside out, it's like you're so pressured to do sales, to do this, to do that, to get great reviews, that you're burning yourself out. And I remember I was never verbally harassed, but I got emails from a manager above me, all capital letters. And we all know that when you write all capital letters, you're basically screaming at people. It wasn't to me. It was the whole district. And I'm thinking, where does this person get off yelling at all of us for something that only one person did? And I'm thinking, why am I putting up with this? Talk about stress. And I took a huge pay cut to leave that. And as soon as I did, senior management was there going, why are you leaving? We need you. We need you. I'm like, it's not worth my health.
Exactly. And thankfully you realized that, and thankfully I realized that. I mean, it took me several years. Yeah,
it was a while.
But that's the thing is we play by the rules. We stay in the lines. We color in the lines, and we are supposed to follow the boss. We're supposed to do this. And yes, I went through several pieces of bullying and some verbal harassment and multiple things that led to that dysfunction. And we were, in a hospital setting, pharmacy is not considered one of the high points. Pharmacy is considered, for an analogy, like we've heard this before, like the redheaded stepchild. Mm-hmm. And so, it's not the cream of the crop. You don't get the things. What you get is those reviews. The hospital needs those reviews. So they spend money on making things prettier, and they spend money on the areas that the patients see. The patients don't usually see the pharmacy or the pills. They know they're getting pills. They're not getting them from a pharmacist. They're getting them from a nurse who's giving them, their meds. Mm-hmm. And so that was another contention, is that we're not being seen, and that put a higher stress. That puts a higher stress on what you're doing. And thankfully, we had the ability in most cases to converse with some of the physicians, but still we're not seen as that. And being in the mix between, even that, being in the mix between a physician comes to me, a physician needs the support, and so now I'm the physician against the pharmacist, and I'm in the middle of that. That was a whole nother stressful situation to be put into.
Mm. Well, it took courage to leave that. What did you do right off the bat when you left? Did you go to work for somebody else, or did you take some time off for yourself?
I took time off for myself.
Okay.
I realized that, I went through the process, and I was like, I've been doing this a long time. And what got me here was the stress. I need time for me. And so I did. I took a month off before I even started, pursuing something else. I was like, I needed to regain my passion, and I needed to regain the self-care that I had neglected.
How did you decompress?
I went for walks.
Okay.
I read books. I did some different, actually I picked up pieces of yoga. I hadn't done yoga before, so I started picking up some of that and learned to I learned to really, well, I'm still learning. I learned to meditate a little bit, and that helped.
What did your family think when you left? What did your friends think? Or did you not care? That's another question.
That's a great question. My close friends, they thought it was a good move because they could see the stress. They could see the stress when I couldn't see the stress. My family was very supportive and knew that they had seen the stress as well. My mom, my husband, they could tell. The thing is you couldn't tell me that I was stressed because I have a hard head. And so it was one of those until I realized it for myself and I got hit, and realized, hey, wait a minute. This is a gift. This is an opportunity for you to do something different and not just be here forever. And so they really supported me. And then, some of my acquaintances that they didn't quite understand, some of those that weren't as close, but those that were really close and my family was close, they understood. And they're like, yeah, it's a good thing for you.
So sometimes change is a gift.
Absolutely. Change
it's all
is
mental. It's between the ears at that point, right?
It is between the ears, and so much of it is between the ears. So much of even your health is between your ears.
Yeah. So you really put a lot of emphasis in the last couple of years on self-care and working with your clients. But I heard you give 3 steps to self-care. I didn't prep you on this, but what are the 3 things or a couple of things that you think are that we all need to do just to focus on ourselves for just a moment each day?
So great question. 3 things. Get enough sleep. That is probably the top one. And we are prone to setting that alarm clock and getting up early and going to bed late. And that may not be the best thing for your body. You need to get the sleep for your body because sleep helps your body rejuvenate. It's like when you turn off and you reboot your computer, you need that sleep. So I would say sleep is number 1.
So what's a good amount of sleep, or is it different for everybody?
So it varies for most people. Average, most people need at least 6 to 8 hours of sleep a night. The thing is you need to get good quality sleep as well. So you've got to get that REM cycle in. And if you're not getting that REM cycle in, that's when, you're crashing in the middle of the afternoon and you're barely making it through the day. You have to have that extra cup of coffee or something to rejuvenate yourself. So REM cycle is very important, and most of us need at least 2 to 3 hours of REM. And if we're sleeping 6 to 8 hours, we're usually going to get that if we're sleeping through the night. Now, if we're fitful sleeping, we may not be getting your REM, and that's another thing we need to look at. We might need to do a sleep study and things like that, or there's different questions I could go through. But getting that usually 6 to 8 hours, you're usually going to get. Some people need more. Some people need 10 hours of sleep a night. And so just be able to rearrange your priorities and make sleep one of your priorities, one of the 3 things you need to do.
And also, though, in your bedrooms, get rid of the blue lights,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So
and the phone, etc.
Put the phone away. So I'm old school. My phone is 3 rooms away from my bedroom. That's where the plug is that I plug it in, and it's been that way for years. So I don't have the blue light in my bedroom. But yes, put your phones away. Make sure that you set yourself a bedtime. Set yourself a bedtime. That helps set an intention for yourself and your body. And that way you're getting to bed at a decent, a certain time. And then you can also, black out the room if you can. Get you some dark curtains so that you're able to sleep that full 6 or 8 hours. I mean, if you're not going to bed till midnight and the sun comes up at 4:30 in the summertime, you're not going to get your 6 hours of sleep.
Yeah, That's important. That's important. And like I did hear you say once too that if you're getting that sleep, you're not going to need the alarm clock. You'll be waking up. And my husband and I we're he's in bed 9:30. You know, lights are off by 10, and at 5:30 we're up. And
Yep.
I know the alarm says the alarm's going to come, and drives me crazy because they'll hit it 3 times, and I'm like, I'm up. How about you? Get up.
Exactly. Your body will become accustomed to waking up. Just like, I mean, like for me this morning, it was earlier than normal.
Thank you very much.
But my body woke up before the alarm.
Yeah.
You know, I set the intention, you know, I went to bed early, and I had set my intention for myself, you know, I need to get up at my time. I need to be up around 6:15 so that I can, you know, get up and wake up and not sound like I'm still asleep while I'm talking to you on the phone.
Yeah, no.
And, you know, I did. I woke up a little bit before 6. And so, you know, I laid there and did my stretches, but then I got up. And so the alarm actually didn't have to go off. So sleep is, you know, so sleep and then the 3 things for sleep. The other thing I would say, take time for yourself, even 5 minutes. Take 5 minutes for yourself a day. If that's to read a book, if that's to walk around the block, if that's to lock yourself in the bathroom to think for 5 minutes. And then take time to do just a little bit of movement if you're not doing that. And I say movement because the E word is often frowned upon.
You mean exercise?
Yes. You know, our bodies need to move. You know, we need to do some stretches, whether that's just basic calisthenics, you know, doing your stretches, your arm rolls, your leg lifts, or walking down the street, down the block. If you're in Colorado like I am right now, I mean, it's still cold to walk outside, so I walk up and down my stairs, you know, and I'm lucky enough I have an exercise room downstairs. If you don't have that, walk around your house. I mean, therefore, last year, I used to walk 15 minutes after every meal. And I was away, and so I wasn't in my normal environment. And so I walked in circles around the hotel room that I was at, and then I walked in circles around the house that I happened to be staying at. And I just walked, you know, from room to room. I just set my timer, and I just walked around. So it can be done. Mm-hmm.
Well, and my guest 2 weeks ago, was Victoria Ahrensdorf, and Victoria does the Feldenkrais methods of movement, and we were just sitting at the desk. And the arms were going up, and the heads were, I just moved my head. The head was going back and forth in different, you know, opposite directions, so you get the brain moving. So we're not talking strenuous movement, just movement. Get up.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
So that was cool. And the third, did you give us 3? I wrote down 3 other things.
The third, let's see.
So it's sleep and movement, take time for yourself. I love this one. You said once, drink water. What's the importance of drinking water? Because, you know, we have tea or sodas or juice or whatever during the day, but you specifically say water. What's up?
Water, our body, and I'm not going to have the right percentage because I don't remember it, is mostly water, though. And so your body needs to rehydrate. Our cells need that water to survive. When we're drinking other components, it doesn't have all the right ingredients in there. So it's like baking a cake, and you forgot the eggs or you forgot the leveling. And so water helps your body rehydrate, and that water is good to help cleanse your insides, and it helps things flush through that it needs to, and it also, it's good for you. I mean, so drink your water. You should actually, if you're not drinking water, start drinking water. That's the first step. Our bodies need a lot of water, and so you should actually be drinking half of your body weight in ounces of water a day.
Well, of course, that scares people because they're like, oh, my gosh, I'll be drinking all day long and then going to the bathroom the rest of the day. So just start with a cup, right? Just start.
Exactly. Just start with a cup. Just 1 cup in the morning, that's a good start, you know. And water also helps fill you up.
Yeah.
So if you have any when we talk about nutrition and things, it helps fill your stomach up and get you to that point. So as you are nourishing your body and you're eating, it helps you not to overeat. Mm-hmm. That's a good thing. But yeah, just start drinking the water. 1 cup. I often will say, find a favorite cup. And I did this with one of my clients, and they're like, well, I don't know, how much do I drink? And I said, find you a cup that you like. Find you a favorite cup. And she was able to order herself off of, one of those fancy sites like Amazon. She got a cup that she liked, a nice pink cup. It tells her that it's 32 ounces, and so she knows that if she fills that up twice, she's drinking enough water throughout the day. And that's her goal, is to fill that cup up twice and drink all of it twice. So, so that gives her 64 ounces of water. She's around 120-ish pounds, so half the body weight. And that was a good thing for her. But she needed that little incentive. And that's what sometimes we need. We need that special cup for us. So we know that that's our water cup. And that helps us remember, oh, yeah, I need to drink that other cup.
Well, it's really important. And, I ended up in the hospital a couple of years ago passing out. I thought my sugar was low, and it turned out I was dehydrated, and my pulse went down about 44. Happened to my father. And I think as we get older, too, we forget to be drinking. We forget to hydrate. And that keeps the body going, keeps the brain going, all those physical functions. And so I've got friends that laugh when I say drink water, because sometimes I don't. Sometimes I'm drinking diet soda. And I heard one of your interviews with Melissa Curran. She goes, "Don't drink soda. Stay away from diet sodas." I'm like, but I don't drink coffee, so I need something. Right. But I do need to concentrate a little more on it being just water and not the other. So we can have a great discussion about this going on, but the hour just flies by. I just can't stand it. But one thing that we wanted to talk about is, we're all homebound right now because of the pandemic and whatever, and the vaccine coming out and the stress over that, the stress of getting it. And down here in South Florida, half the state is over 65, and so we're not able to get it quickly. My dad got it, but my mom can't get it. What do we do to alleviate that stress, short of being able to get the vaccine? If we can't at the moment, what would you say to calm us down until it gets here?
So I would say, take the steps that are necessary to put your name on the list, number 1. And so that's step number 1, knowing that you have done what is in your control. And that should help relieve your stress. You've done what's in your control in order to put your name on the list. And then, from there, also think of things that are in your control. So continue to take your precautions. Continue to hydrate yourself. Continue to, take your things that, if you're needing to boost your immune system, that you continue those things. Continue to practice the safe social distancing. Continue to practice wearing your mask. I was like, where was I going? Sorry. While, continue those protocols, the things that you can control, and put your mind at ease knowing that the process is in place and that the powers that be, they are doing everything that they can in an orderly manner to get you to the vaccine. So if you're qualified for that, you're going to get it. It may take more time, but just put your mind at ease. Know that you've done everything in your control. So if you haven't signed up, you haven't done everything in your control. But putting that, and just sit back, take a breath, and know that you're going to get it when it's appropriate for you and when it's your time. And I know that that's hard to, kind of like the change thing. Putting it out there and knowing, not the unknown.
Yeah, but just be careful, and do, like you said, do what you can. We kind of limit to where my mom is going, so and me too, because I'm there a lot, so I'm very careful about where I'm at. This is going to be a good segue to bring in Dr. Tim McGuinness. Tim is the founder of the Society of Citizens Against Relationship Scams, and Tim and I were talking recently about the scams associated with the vaccine and with about COVID. So, Dr. Tim, are you there?
I am here.
Hi, Tim. Dr. Melissa. Tim, can you give us a couple of things? I hear Melissa and I were just talking about de-stressing, but some of the scams that are out there can be stressful. So can you give us a couple?
Yeah, there's a couple of things that are important to be fully aware of, and to check with your family and make sure that they're not being lured into scams of one nature or another. Only the government can give you a vaccine at this time, only through designated vaccine delivery sites, physical sites. So you can't go to your doctor to get one. You can't go online and pay someone to have the vaccine sent to you or sent to your doctor. Check with your state health agency to make sure that anything that you receive that talks about access to vaccines is legitimate and honest, and that the right vaccine is what is available. In addition to that, millions and millions of individuals are being victimized through false health claims associated with the COVID-19 disease. Specifically, I hate to say it, but there are a lot of quackery out there in terms of surefire cures, etc. There are a variety of supplements that you can potentially take that will be beneficial, and I'm not going to tell you what they are, but certainly by listening to what is being recommended by legitimate pharmacological, medical websites that are out there, you can get a sense of what's going on. Medications like remdesivir and others seem to have high promise, but regardless, avoid buying into advertisements for solutions that are not actually coming from a legitimate medical authority. Additionally, there's a lot of devices that are being sold out there, and one of the most heartbreaking ones that are making the rounds right now are for individuals that are in need of respirators of one nature or another, or oxygen concentrators, or even buying bottles of oxygen because they have had their lungs damaged as a result of this disease. This is widespread worldwide, and particularly as insurance runs out on some of the respirator oxygen concentrators that are out there, victims are turning to the aftermarket. And a huge number of those products being advertised are outright frauds. They're fake websites, fake social media accounts, etc. So you have to be extraordinarily careful about anything that you buy that is at all related with the coronavirus pandemic, and make sure that you're buying from a legitimate source. Check whether or not the company you're buying from or talking to is an incorporated entity. If they're talking about medical recommendations, etc., you can go to your state's medical licensing board and find out whether or not they're even licensed. So it's important to do your due diligence on this. Melissa, would you like to add something on that?
I don't know if I could add much. That's exactly right. Consider the source and do your due diligence. Absolutely. And
I was thinking that's exactly why we need someone like Melissa to look at the stuff that has been suggested or recommended, because everybody's got a recommendation. Everybody's going to say, oh, well, this is good for you, that's good for you. But, if we start taking all these different things, Melissa, that's where you come in hand, where you can actually review what people are taking, what their medicines are, and what the supplements are, because sometimes supplements might not work together, correct?
That is correct. That is absolutely correct. Supplements may be interacting with your current medications. Supplements could be interacting with other supplements. They could be doing injustice for you. So, yes, having somebody review those, like me, who can actually sit down, take the time to listen to you, take the time to go through everything that you're putting in your body, pill-wise, nutrition-wise, because I say whole health, looking at that and figuring out, okay, what is the best for you? One of the the things with healthcare is that we have been accustomed to just we want the easy pill. We want to take the pill that's going to make it go away quickly. And so we listen to all these different recommendations, and they're not all legit. Some are good, but they're not all legit. And there's even supplements out there that they're not even what says in the bottle. So you've got to consider the source there and do your due diligence and make sure that you're getting good quality.
Well, and I'm real sensitive to that because my company is a vitamin supplement company specifically for neuropathy, and we are tested and the quality is good, and, you know, I look at the raw material all the time, so it's really important. But I have gotten supplements in the past because I'll hear something about, you know, this one's good for 15 vegetables or 15 fruits, and then I do that instant buy, and then I get it, and I'm looking at it, and I'm doing the reviews, and I'm thinking, oh, that was really silly. Why did I do that? Why didn't I just eat an apple? So,
Debbie, one of the things that is very important right now relative to supplements is there's a lot of science about the use of ionophores and metals as a therapy for viruses. We're all familiar with taking zinc, etc., and unfortunately zinc doesn't absorb into the cell particularly well unless you take an ionophore with it. But the problem that is many times serious is when you're taking something that will open up the cell to metals going in, you have to be really, really careful because extraordinarily high doses of things like zinc or colloidal silver or colloidal gold, whatever, can have adverse reactions in and of themselves. So dosing is a massive issue with any of these remedies, so to speak.
Another reason why we would get a Dr. Melissa on our team. So, Melissa, how can people get a hold of you?
The easiest way to reach me is through my Linktree account. So it's linktr.ee/Dr. Melissa B.
Say that again. I haven't heard that before.
Oh, linktr.ee/DrMelissa And that has all my contacts. You can schedule an appointment with me. You can look at my website. You can find tips on stress. You can find my YouTube channel. So it's a nice hub for me to have all things versus you having to go to 15 different links.
Yeah, because right now I'm looking at drmelissabalizan.com and a beautiful picture of you and your dog.
Oh, thank you.
So that's another thing that people can go there because and your phone number would be there, so or you've actually got schedule. You can grab a stress less guide. You can get her 5 tips to manage stress. It's a free copy if you go in and you can get it from her website. I think that everybody should, especially those of us that are, like I called us in the sandwich generation. You know, we might be having our parents that are getting a little bit older. I know mine are going to cringe when they hear this, but we've had that discussion about maybe on Sunday we need to sit down and fill your pill bottle up for the week and make sure that you are accountable to taking those things. And then, you know, your friend says take this, your other friend says take this. So we have all of these things that maybe we need to have a review and make sure that they aren't counteracting each other or interfering with some of your medicines. So what a great service, Melissa. You know, I'm quite impressed, and I'm really glad that we actually met through Women's Prosperity Network, another one of our great organizations. So you are actually called a Concierge Pharmacist. You are available online. We were talking earlier, you can talk to anybody around the world, but you're not prescribing, you're working with their doctors. So just a real quick thing, how do you work with your little team here, the client, the doctors, and yourself? How does that happen? How do you work with the client and their doctor? How does that combo come into play?
Okay. So what I do is I work with the client and realize that it's your health. You as the client, it's your decision. And if you decide you want to take some supplements, then let's talk about that and let's make sure they don't interact with your medications. And you never want to do that just unilaterally, which so many people do. You want to involve your healthcare team. And so I can give you language to speak with your physician. I can also make a call to your physician. And if we need to change some of your prescription medication because things aren't serving you or things are causing you side effects there's better solutions, that's when we work with your physician even more, and I can make that call and say, okay, here's the recommendation. This is a better solution for Debbie and what she's going through. This is a better solution for Tim and what he's going through, or whoever else is on the call, whatever your name might be. So working with that and then giving you that recommendation. So as a pharmacist, I never prescribe. That's the physician's area. The other thing is physician can prescribe. You as the patient may not want to take that medication. So I give you options, and we do some education to figure out what is the best solution for you. And a supplement might be the better solution for you, or there might be a time where we need to bridge between Eastern and Western. And so you take a little bit of that Western medicine, that prescription medicine, while we're working on some things for your lifestyle. You're working on your movement. Maybe you're working on some mindset things that will help shift your health. And so having me in your corner, I can help you holistically, whole health, looking at every aspect and not just looking at the cut that's on your finger and we just put a Band-Aid on that right now. We get down and we look at the root cause of why, you needed to go on that particular medication or what's going on. And so having me in your corner can help you with that.
I really find that very attractive, especially as we get older. I know I'm not on any medications, thank goodness. I'm knocking on wood. And I see my doctor once a year, and I always laugh and say, if you had more patients like me, you'd be out of business, which is good. But as the numbers go up year by year, because we keep track of what's happening, the cholesterol might be going up a little bit. It's not from what I'm eating, it's genetic. And so when he said, well, maybe next year we're going to have to put you on something, my brain goes, I don't want to be on any medication. What can I eat, the oatmeal or whatever? What can I take supplement-wise to keep that cholesterol down? And that would be a good question to ask you when he comes to me and says, Deb, I think we need to put you on such and such. But be careful if you take the supplement because it's not regulated and blah, blah, blah. It's just to have someone in our corner to talk to and get that holistic view. So thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for being brave enough to have left a successful job in corporate and, a huge administration to take that leap of faith that for you and your health, you needed to do something different. Change was good. Tim and I work with a lot of people that have been through some really traumatic things, and they may be trying to self-medicate. They may be trying to do whatever. We need to breathe, we need to drink some water, we need to get a little bit of movement, exercise, and we need to get someone in our corner that we can talk to about what can help us be whole again, mentally, physically, to be able to move forward. And I love what you do. I think it's a really good combination these days of, holistic and, like you said, Western and Eastern. You're doing a great service, and I know Tim and I will be talking to you about maybe what we can do, together later on. But thank you so much. One last thing, Melissa. You're here for everybody, right? You're here at drmelissabalizan.com or linktr.ee, linkter.ee. That's weird. Dr. Melissa B. I'm going to go to that site and see. But go to her website and get some of the free downloads that she has and schedule an appointment with her. Schedule just a time to chat and see if maybe she can be there for you in a referral type of a way. So thank you, Melissa, for being our guest today. Thanks, Dr. Tim. Everybody for being here and listening to Stand Up and Speak Up. We are dedicated to encouraging you to remove that mask of embarrassment and to being your best self. If you are a victim of a crime or scam, please visit againstscams.org for assistance and guidance about options for recovery. SCARS is an incorporated nonprofit crime victims assistance organization based in Miami. We're here supporting victims worldwide. And if you can, go make a small donation. We appreciate that. This episode of Stand Up and Speak Up is sponsored by BenfoComplete.com, a vitamin supplement company that supports happy and healthy hands and feet for those with neuropathy. If you or anyone you know struggles with the pins and needles and numbness in your hands and feet, check out our Benfo products at BenfoComplete.com and use the special code STANDUP for 5% discount on your purchase. Again, folks, thanks very much. Go to my website, thewomanbehindthesmile.com, for additional information and resources. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. The replays are real fun. They have it's not active video, but it's a really great resource, and get it out to your friends. We need to get this information about what Melissa does, about having a voice and a choice, and using your team around you to create whole health. We need to get this out to the world. So thanks very much for being with us today, and we will talk to you all next week. Have a good one.